Hello and welcome to the AEW Dynamite Blood and Guts review. I am Michael Sidgwick, joined by fellow Dudley boy Michael Hamflett to discuss everything that went down on last night's show. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure to subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts, maybe not in August. Yeah. Where we preview and review Dynamite, Collision, Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0, pay-per-views, premium live events. We have wrestler interviews on occasion, roundtable discussions, and a roundup of the week complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on Wrestle Culture. Hamflett, you all right?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Just all right.
How are you, Sidge?
Doing okay.
Yeah.
I'm doing okay?
Yeah.
For once in my miserable life, I decided to look for the positives on Blood and Guts, knowing the match that it is, knowing the match that it will always be. I never tend to lower my expectations. I've said that from day one. I kind of do it with Blood and Guts just because I know what match it's going to be. It was almost exactly as I imagined it would play out in terms of the length, in terms of the approach, in terms of the excess. But I thought within that there was some really good stuff. But what are your thoughts on really the overall card, I guess?
I didn't like the show.
I did. I had a good time, you know.
But I would agree with you on Blood and Guts specifically. I think gone are the days where it's tied to heat, isn't it? It's tied to real heat. You've said before, the death of real feeling heat and how, or not death, but how hard it is to summon that in wrestling is what used to underpin matches like War Games or matches like a steel cage decider or anything. The hatred was core to it. It was never about the mesh that they were squashing their faces into or even the spike that was held over Tully Blanchard's head by Magnum TA. It was the hatred that fueled that move in the first place. And I think like separating that from this Blood and Guts in particular, because there's never been very convincing hatred at the core of any of this, I was actually able to get more out of it than I did, say, last year's, for example, where there was supposed to be hatred and I just didn't buy it anymore. The BCC and the Elite were theoretically supposed to just despise one another.
Yeah.
But I think they'd lost the thread of why that was.
Yeah.
And it impacted that match. This one, because it didn't really have that going in, I was just kind of invited to enjoy the spots I wanted to enjoy. And it worked better.
Yeah.
As a result, I think I still don't know if it was a great match. Another week, another 7-day cycle of wondering if the really, really long Dynamite match was good or not.
Yes.
That's going to happen again, isn't it? So.
Indeed. On the subject of the very, very, very long Dynamite match, we sort of revisit that immediately. And I would describe this as an inadvertently and deliberately hilarious opening segment / sequence. We'll get into it. So, presumably at an airport, though I have no earthly idea why there would be a camera set up there, we run into Will Ospreay, who's trying to, drive to the show. It turns out his tyre has been slashed. For reasons, again, that are beyond me, Alex Marvez is there, the roving reporter. Maybe he got tipped off a scoop of, there's been some vehicular damage at the airport. Go on, Marvez. See what's cracking over there, you broadcast journalist. So he goes there, and yes, there is a flat tyre because it's been spiked. Will Ospreay's car. Alex Marvez is then asked by Will Ospreay, "You got a car, bruv? You got a car, bruv?" And he goes, "Yes." And then they go over to Marvez. I mean, I know he's he's a favour hire.
Yeah,
he's Tony Khan's mate. Nepotism, let's face it. I am charmed by him, but let's face it, he's a nepotism hire, and he must be on a decent wage because he's got this absolutely enormous white car. I was expecting, right, because they do this reveal where the camera pans over to the car. I thought it would be a nice traditional signature AEW detail where he's got this I don't know, what's like a cliched bad car?
Like an old banger in it, like one of those old 70s family cars with the wood panels down the side.
Yeah. I thought he should have had a worse car, to be honest.
It's AEW, in it? Like, it's a fancy car company. They love their big fancy cars.
So they go in to Alex Marvez's big fancy car, right? And Ospreay squeals off, and Alex Marvez goes, "Ah!"
I like this.
Yeah, it was daft.
It's set up. I think this whole maybe front 15 minutes.
That was
the
great.
highlight of the Dynamite for me. Like, I just got a lot out of all of these bits individually and together.
Marvez, honestly, if he's a joy.
Yeah.
I always have a smile on my face when I watch him do his thing.
It had to be him. This wouldn't have worked with any other broadcasters.
Renee Paquette couldn't do this.
No.
Like, absolutely no way. She's actually,
incredible.
Yeah. She's actually sort of earnestly great at her job, whereas Marvez is just funny.
Yeah. The clown that has snuck into the booth.
Yeah.
I like this.
So then, right, sped away. So is he en route to the arena? I guess we're going to find out imminently. We then go, where's the 9 or 9 moves, into the arena. And then you get some cheerleaders. Like every little detail of this, I thought this next segment / promo, tremendous. Cheerleaders go, give me an M. Give me a J, give me an F, and then MJF comes out with that enormous eating grin, and this is not. I'm going to take some victory laps. I'm going to take some victory laps on this podcast. Okay. The first one was I said the Collision promo that MJF cut that didn't exactly get an awful amount of praise was a necessary, not great promo, if that makes sense. Yes, the Nielsen Meltzer line wasn't great, but he basically, to adhere to the continuity of the character, he had to explain his actions to make it with a little bit of credibility and continuity. He can't pretend. Like, the whole idea is the first turn didn't work out. Better as a heel. Let's just do that. That's the business reason, but there should be a storyline reason, and there was. And he says he's, basically self-loathing, and he got rejected by the fans, and he'll never make that mistake again. Now that he's fully fledged heel, you get the return of MJF, and oh my God, you got the return of MJF being MJF here. Yeah. So he comes out and he says that. He won that AEW International title match handily, and he did it, Michael Hamflett, without breaking a sweat. 59 minutes and 58 seconds, and he had the gas mask on. It's proper, great, quintessential MJF heel stuff. It's great. So he comes out, he basically does some bragging. He buries Ospreay for lacking the killer instinct to execute the Tiger Driver. And he also says that he hasn't forgotten about Shane Swerve Strickland's world title, which he believes also belongs to him. I don't know if that's a hint towards unification. Yes, please. There are too many singles men's titles in AEW right now.
MJF was always really good at this. When it was a title thing. Remember, like when he said after the Punk feud, I want to ruin your life. And that was with a view of getting back to it later in the year before Brawl Out. Yeah. He always left stuff like that in, didn't he? Yeah.
So that's the thing. I'm always paying attention to things like this. So hopefully unification is on the way. He says, when the spotlight is on me, I shine like a diamond. You, in contrast, melt. This is when he did the break in a sweat line. He also says it was the most dominant victory of all time. And he also says, if you're thinking, right, MJF used to be in a bit work shoot, a bit too meta with his promos. This follows a pretty, ill-advised or unsuccessful babyface turn. When's MJF going to come back? Well, he comes back. Yeah. Because he says, Ospreay, you need to take a long walk off a short pier, and, your grandmother did pass away, but when you dig your own grave, make sure there's a football field-sized distance between yours and your grandmother's, because that fat skank needs all the space she can get. It's all right.
Yeah.
You popped. Everywhere you popped.
Yeah.
The thing about, I always describe black comedy as this sort of, if you imagine like your body, okay, so you've got your belly where the laughter comes from, okay? If you think about black comedy, right, if it's such a good line, goes into your ear, and just, it's so, funny and appalling that just bypasses wherever your moral compass is and just goes straight into your belly. Like, it's an involuntary, no, you can't say that.
That's not on.
No.
You gotta be saying that, Stacks.
No. But it's just an involuntary normal reaction. Stacks is really bad for it as well.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's Thursday. Get rid of bloody Stacks. Small dose of Stacks. That should be his nickname. And then
it's got the opposite of Stacks.
Yeah, I know. Then MJF says, look, the international title, ugly, America better, basically. And he reveals that he has now renamed it the American title.
Belt was good.
He removes the cloak, if you like, unveils the new American title. It is basically the international title with a deliberately garish, very ugly, but very MJF red, white, and blue strap.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Because you're a big aesthetics guy.
Love it. The red, white, and blue strap looks fantastic, but the international thing, where the world would be, is now just replaced by an American flag adorned America. So it's just, he's even cut off Canada. It's not even got like the shape looks wrong because you see an American.
Yeah, just America though.
What is that? Just America.
It's just the United States of America. I should also mention that he throws the old international title design in the bin. It's just there in the trash. And then he says, "I am your American hero, Maxwell Jacob Friedman." At which point, inevitably, the Yanks. USA. MJF. He's clever. He did say in the match last week that is why he's the smartest wrestler alive. And he proved that to be true because he anticipated the chance of USA. Went, not nasty ass Nashville. No, nothing like that. I'm talking about Plainview, Long Island, New York City. So he's very clever. He knew what was coming. And then the fans turn on him. He gets the heat all over again. And then the streamers come down from the rafters, and then I thought, that's goated. And then, oh my God, a second goat, because an absolutely gigantic United States of America flag unfurls from the rafters. How did they fit that and the cage in?
It's huge, isn't it? It's across both rings. Yeah. I haven't seen it. It covers both rings. It's
absolutely huge. And then Tony Schiavone, who's just the best commentator in wrestling for me, instantly spots it. Tell me no. In place of the 50 stars, there are 50 MJF faces.
50 goats it would have fit.
50th MJF.
One for each state. This is brilliant. This is wrestling.
This is professional.
This is wrestling, mate.
This is professional wrestling. MJF's all the way back. Professional, the business is back. And then, from the airport, is Will Ospreay, who comes out. And MJF immediately scream, cheese it, because he's a heel. He knows exactly what he's doing. So he scarpers. Will Ospreay then grabs the mic and says, bruv, you said I was dominant, you're blown out your ass, bruv. He's going, you were wrong, the heel. And, it's a nice bit of interplay. My only slight, is this pedantic or do I even mean it? Basically, the gist of the end to the segment is that Will Ospreay says, look, I spoke to Tony Khan and Christopher Daniels. Nothing against Christopher Daniels, the performer in ring or the guy. I don't want him as a heel, babyface on-screen authority figure.
I just don't. Why didn't you speak to the elite as well?
Exactly. Well, I know, but that's another kind of Williams. And then he says, look, I've got the rematch all secured and it's on my home soil, bruv. And he points to the all-in sign. It's one of those where it's like there's no rule which sort of invites this type of critique because there's no set way anymore of earning title matches.
Yeah.
Is it fair enough, given that he went 59-58, he was screwed, he pretty much earned it then and there to get... It's not an automatic, but it's on merit rematch. Might be more narratively interesting had there been another sort of route.
Yeah, I would have liked a route. I think it would have made the television in the weeks before all in a little bit more interesting.
Well, we haven't seen them yet, that's the thing.
No, that's true. And you know what you're getting at the end. We're getting the same result as the Ospreay match. The one thing, it did stick out to me a little bit that, we're just doing a rematch, are we? But then, as you say, you kind of have to invent your own rules for every feud. There aren't rankings that are stuck to. There aren't there's not like a set thing at this point where you know full well if somebody is winning a match, they're en route to this. What bothered me on this specific Dynamite is that it's just where AEW is. Now it's a company that has ultimately lost touch with itself, because on the very same show as Will Ospreay was like, I spoke to the bosses, we got the rematch. Chris Statlander attacked Willow Nightingale to get a contenders match that she might then win to get the title match.
Yeah.
And it's like, this would have never been the case once upon a time.
Yeah.
You would have had a way that you did it, and then everybody would have had to adhere to it. And if there was a reason why you couldn't, you would have to come up with a really strong reason, and that's gone. And that was like...
There's a lot that's gone.
Yeah. But
there is. Sorry.
You go case by case, and I like this program, so I like it in this. I don't mind it in this, and the rematch was inevitable.
It's one of those where everything is case by case now.
Yeah.
And, I mean, come on. 59-58, got screwed.
Yeah.
He probably deserves it on merit.
Had it been, let's just say it was a gauntlet or something, even that would have had an element of, wait a minute, if he can do that to him on Raw, he can do it at the pay-per-view. Because you know the match is coming. So it's like, wait a minute, he's won the gauntlet. That means he gets the title shot. Yeah. You would know the shot was coming.
Basically, we're miserable British bastards who would complain about everything.
Mr. Bean-looking asses.
Mr. Bean-looking
Bringing
asses.
that friggin', right, 2 things on that belt as well. This character shift, a little bit of a character shift. For MJF.
I mean, it's like Wembley specific.
Well,
he's going to Mexico as well.
Wembley and Arena Mexico specific. If he's going to have that belt for a month, what a month he's having with it. Like, we talked just yesterday about what specific strain of heat he's going to target in terms of the cheap heat that certain wrestlers get in Mexico. MJF rocking like an American flag version of his gear with that belt or something like that is going to be perfect. Like, is he going to channel like Art Barr and Eddie Guerrero with his gear for the night? You know, like the American flag trunks with all the
Well, I've got
frills.
an idea.
You got an idea. And then, same again at Wembley. Just, I don't know, like his gear could be American UK Civil War based or something like that, and he could call us a bunch of red coat Mr. Bean looking asses.
Yep.
It's going to be great.
You know what I want? Because the idea is he's not a real American hero. He's mainly doing this because he just wants to be a dick to Ospreay.
Yeah.
Right? If he's not a real American hero, how about a failed Patriot gimmick, 1993 Lex Luger, the triangular stars.
Oh my God,
stripes.
yes. The Max Express.
The Max Express, the 1993 Luger triangle stars and stripes.
I love it.
Nice little echo to another not really convincing American hero.
And he can pull off the muscle pose because he's absolutely jacked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feeling more about MJF?
Love it. Love this whole thing. Can't wait for the match. I was looking forward to the match anyway. Maintain the Wembley match. I think is going to be even better than the TV match with less debate. There's going to be less divisiveness over this rematch, I think.
We're not going an hour on a Wembley card.
No. And I think I don't know. I have a feeling the match is going to be even better. And I love the character. MJF feels all the way back.
Restored.
Yeah. And I know that some people might see it as for balance. Some people might see this as how you've basically had to reset it. This is how we would do it. You'd have a match. You'd have a silly, grandiose in-ring thing. But like that was what made MJF so popular. It felt like a babyface turn had to happen.
Yeah.
So you're kind of doing the things that worked. Mm-hmm. I don't think this is so much as like a step backward as I think it was like a necessary sidestep to get to a new heel MJF. Yeah. I welcome this.
Yeah, absolutely. Backstage, Bryce Remsburg even. Wemsburg? Who's
Wemsburg.
Who's that? No idea, but Bryce Remsburg walks in as the coin flip is happening. That's poor production.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And basically, Matthew Jackson, so this is weird. So Christopher Daniels is just laid out on the floor. Mm-hmm. The idea being, right, okay, he doesn't get to officiate it properly. What's Tony Khan doing? So the general gist, if you've not seen Dynamite, I should be more on top of that. I'm not as good as Wilborn at his job, basically, is that presumably Christopher Daniels was going to do a fair coin flip, but the Elite wanted the advantage. Obviously, they're heels, so they lay him out. Bryce Remsburg just walks in. He doesn't really go, what the hell have you done to Chris Daniels? He's just like, all right, okay.
I'll do it.
Wrestling's just happened then, I guess. You know what I mean?
Aye.
And then Matthew Jackson does the heads I win, tails you lose deal with his custom coin with the Elite on one side and AEW on the other, but it's two Elite signs. Yeah. They've got the advantage.
Yeah. It's fine. It was cute enough, wasn't it?
Yeah, they also allude to the fact that Hangman Page hasn't turned up to the arena. There's panic about where he is, and Matthew Jackson just reassures everyone, no, he said he's coming, I believe him, all the rest of it. In the first match of the evening, I can already tell we're going to disagree profoundly on this.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho defeats Minoru Suzuki to retain the FTW title. Now, it goes about 14 minutes, about 10 of which it's just a prolonged chop battle. As I predicted. You know what? I don't recall seeing any other predictions of this note. I don't recall anybody else linking the fact that, right, okay, if Chris Jericho did the picture-in-picture line tamer at Joe, that would indicate that he's trying to recover past glories. That would indicate that ahead of a match with Minoru Suzuki, who's about as limited in terms of athleticism as Jericho is these days, they're going to take a shortcut borrowing from a successful chapter of Chris Jericho's AEW career. He's going to blade his tits and they're going to do a big chop battle. Okay?
Came up yesterday, didn't it?
Yeah, I said it yesterday. I said it on Monday. Yeah. Where's my respect? You know what I mean?
I do.
I understand WhatCulture Wrestling doesn't necessarily have the, we're not ball knowers, are we, here at, I know that ball. Okay?
I mean, I disagree, but yes, I understand what you're saying.
Just where's our respect? It just really annoys us. Like, sometimes I just feel like, you know what? Goddamn best in the world in this podcast.
This could pivot into a different kind of plug, couldn't it? You want to come and show us some respect? Come to the Crystal Club at Wembley, 12 till 1:30 p.m, the day of All In.
Come to the Crystal Club. Come to the Crystal Club at 12 p.m, yeah? 2-minute walk from Wembley Stadium. And I guarantee that I'm going to line each and every one of you punters up. And like Antonio Inoki, I'm going to slap each and every one of you in the face.
But with a great take. With a nailed-on prediction for the card. Indeed. And then everybody's going to be like, we should have respected that take. Thanks for the slap in the face of the take. WhatCulture.com/tickets.
To get slapped.
To get slapped with the takes.
I'll slap you in the mouth. You'll get slapped. You got blasted.
Imagine that as a drop-down. Foam fingers, T-shirt, slap.
Should charge. How much? Let us know, right? We post a link to this podcast on X at WhatCulture WWE. Just let us know, just so a bit of market research. How much would you pay to get slapped in the face?
I was at
by me.
I think it was Altrincham maybe, with Andy Murray of this parish when it was the New Japan Rev Pro crossover, and Gunther was selling chops at the merch
did he not take one?
No, I was scared. But you could hear the noise. It was like ice hockey sort of building, but every single time it just stopped everybody dead. You'd be walking around, it was rammed in the building as well. And every now and then you just hear this loud thunderclap, and it was somebody else getting their chest caved in by Gunther. The weirdest thing. I don't know. I'm like, maybe
was Murray not tempted?
I don't know. I can't remember. I think we just both looked on in fear when you see him in real life. Actually, like we stood up close for one, and he winds up, and it's like,
did anyone have to sign like a waiver or anything?
No, it's a wrestling merch table, isn't it?
Yeah.
20 quid. Yep.
Bang!
He's not moving. See you later, guys.
So I kind of predicted this. And on that level, I thought, right, okay, it's a bit derivative. Obviously, he's done it before. Probably a bit cynical. I honestly thought this was genuinely really, really, really good. On this evidence, you saw that elusive glimpse into why Jericho has the reputation that he has. The old one, not the one that he has now. Yeah. On this evidence, truly. And it's ironic because he actually won. He won with the Lion Tamer in the end. He did so much more for Suzuki's aura and defeated him than I can recall that he's done by losing to somebody else for months and months and months, if not years at this point. So it's a 10-minute chop battle. And then a bit of back and forth and reversals with the Gotch-style pile driver and then the walls, and then that's the end. That's how you reduce it. One of my favourite dance tracks of all time is 2 Months Off by Underworld. Mm-hmm. And it's just basically a two-chord progression for like 7 minutes. I just find that so impressive how you do so much with so little.
Yeah.
This is a one-chord match. This is a one-chord song. And I thought they did a magnificent job. Obviously, the blood and the effect and the noise of how like the slaps, the chops, really, really felt it. But you can't just do that.
No.
There's an art to it. There was a rhythm to it. Facial expressions have to be great. You have to just take that crowd to the edge of taking the piss and then do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. Jericho, I'm not saying Suzuki was bad, but I want to just individually praise Jericho and the character, the artist, not the person necessarily, because I thought his body language, the physical commitment, the fear, the sense of foolhardy. I can do it as well as you. No, and then he crumbled time and time again. Suzuki was really good in this match as well, but I thought Jericho's individual performance in conducting the crowd, getting them to just stay with it and just build and build and build, and just his facials and the sense that he was completely outmatched. I thought this is Chris Jericho's best individual performance in at least a year. And it was the sort of performance where he can justifiably say, see what I can do for people, because Minoru Suzuki has been panto for about as long as AEW has been in existence. He's unable at this point to slot into the old rule of, you know what, a new IWGP heavyweight champion is very early into their reign. There's a new beginning going on. Suzuki can do 30 unbelievable minutes and make you believe in the moment that he can do it, but he's not going to. He can't do that anymore. He's full on panto. There were times when he felt like the old Suzuki in there, and I would attribute that to Jericho as much as him. Look, I will piss all over Chris Jericho, all crap all over Chris Jericho when it's warranted, I thought this was genuinely really, really impressive.
Yeah, I don't totally disagree. That's probably the word. Wrestling's strange, isn't it? Like, you can be bored and impressed. I've watched so much of it that I can still be impressed and not feel anything for something.
Yeah, same.
I would say I felt that about the NXT main event the night before, and they're totally different matches. I was sat, arms folded, never under threat of getting uncrossed, and not really feeling anything in my gut or my soul for it. But I was, begrudgingly impressed with what they did here. Like, that formula, as you say, you can't just do it. There's an art, not just to performing it, but to timing it out and to choosing your moments. It's particularly hard on television.
One chord song.
Like, television's a tough place to do it. I was thinking of the, remember was it Taichi and Ibushi having the kicking match? Years back.
Yes.
One of a number of different experimental pandemic style things. And I remember really, I enjoyed that more on a visceral level. But again, it was more about just, that's quite impressive that you've done that.
Yeah.
Like, that was a worthy thing, even if it had failed, and it didn't. But you kind of have to give it the nod. And I feel that way. This failed for me on an emotional level, but it didn't for the people in the building. And I can credit it where it's due there as well. Yeah. Like, the crowd came up for it, and the crowd reacted as if they were getting exactly what they wanted to see. And that was no guarantee with the Chris Jericho Minoru Suzuki match. I didn't like it. I was bored by the chops. Like, I kind of go more Bret Hart from chops as opposed to Ric Flair. Chop, chop, chop. So it's just not the sort of thing I'm predisposed to enjoy, nor is Chris Jericho, realistically. Or really, Minoru Suzuki, if we're all being honest. There's less good matches.
This is infinitely better than the Copeland match.
Yeah.
Infinitely better.
But it's like, I got nothing else to say positive about it because I didn't feel anything positive for it. But fair play to them both. Yeah. It's just like,
you're a
who could care, man? Like,
I did. I cared a lot.
No, but like, after the match, like, what's like? Oh, there's Shibata.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I should mention the post match. I mean, I cared, and I think a lot of people did because he got a really good reaction in the building. I should mention. So he puts him away with the Judas effect. Sorry, I said the walls earlier. It was in fact the Judas effect. But then he does the jump scare. The movie monster isn't dead. In fact, he's coming to get you. Does the choke. This summons Big Bill and Brian Keith, who attempt to beat Suzuki down. Shibata makes the save. It's very much, there's going to be a multi-man tag all in, I expect. I don't know all of the players involved, but surely they're building that. Interestingly, Lance Archer was reheated on Collision. Maybe he's got previous with Suzuki, obviously.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's going to join that team.
Instead of Hook.
Or maybe he could turn. I don't know.
Oh, do you know what?
Because he's teamed with Jericho as well. That's the problem with AEW. Everyone's teamed with each other. I expect Lance Archer might be involved in this at some point.
Chris Jericho would love this, right? Because I'm going to give him creative license to go on very late at Wembley. He would love that, right? How could you justify Chris Jericho going on maybe second from top at Wembley? Why? Because by then it'll have gone dark and you should put the hook signal into the sky.
Oh, yeah.
Sky.
Oh, my God. That would be tremendous. Quick backstage segment follows the Suzuki Jericho match. Renee Paquette is backstage with the new CMLL Women's Champion Willow Nightingale, just about to cut a promo before she's blindsided and attacked by Chris Statlander. And then Hathaway says, Nightingale, let's have a title eliminator. Let's have a bare knuckle eliminator next week then for the CMLL Women's title. And in a cute line, it says, when you wake up, just let us give you your answer.
So that's going to be Dynamite, and then the match itself will probably be Arena Mexico, right? Because it's for the same one. So not Wembley.
Well,
that would be the timeline I would assume.
Yeah. It'd be such a flex in this women's division if there were 3 women's matches on at Wembley, wouldn't it? Like, this is where we might be the best in America at this, so let's just show it off. But I just step too far for AEW, I expect. What follows next was quite incredible to me. We get a brief glimpse of, apparently there's going to be a feature-length interview coming to YouTube between Renee Paquette and Bryan Danielson. We saw like an excerpt of it here, the very end of it, really.
Yeah.
Where Danielson's being his basic, I'm all right, happy-go-lucky-ish self, and he's saying, I think my neck's okay, it's fixable, we'll be fine, I'm just going to take everything as it comes. And then Jeff Jarrett overhears this, and he has a bit of a problem with it. And he basically says to Danielson, and like a really great promo that feels so real and intimate and unlike anything on like American TV, basically. Have this sort of like private, intimate sit down. And Jarrett is basically telling Danielson, you know, people are expecting like way more out of you. You know, if you're going to go all in on this, like your final blaze of glory as a full-time pro wrestler, why don't you go all in? Gives them the pep talk. Like, don't be this. And I think it's really cool how they're playing with Danielson's sort of humble, whatever, as long as I get to wrestle, as long as I get to do my art, that reputation, which Danielson's done himself no favors by talking, and this is me talking about Danielson, I'm allowed, right? I don't think Danielson has done himself much favors by saying, you know, I don't need the world title, don't care, I just want to do my art, and blah, blah, blah. He said it so many times in the media that whenever he's had a title match, I never believe that he's going to win. Yeah. So now that they've recognized this AEW, I think it's really clever, and now through Jarrett, they are basically having Jarrett as the voice of the audience saying, "What? Do it. You need to." You're like, why won't you go all in on this? And then Jarrett walks off. And then Paquette says, you know, you got anything to, you know, say in response to that? And with a sort of wry smile, there's a realization dawns on Danielson of, yeah, there's a lot of work to do. He's sort of woken up the dragon within and the ambition within. I thought this was apt in terms of the way they've arrived at trying to get Danielson to be the old ROH Danielson again, the ambitious Danielson. And the guy that they've chosen to do it, and the way that this is all delivered and filmed and how real it felt, I was just engrossed in this. I thought it was magnificent.
I thought this was a lush bit of business, this. The timing is inspired too, because you drop this in this week, right as Swerve is finishing up with Blood and Guts, meaning Swerve is free next week, and Danielson can now lock into that as well. Yeah. There's been no sense of overlap yet. This felt so disconnected from Swerve's actual, and I've seen already online people looking at what happened in Blood and Guts and saying, like AEW have gone with the wrong main event here with Wembley, like look at the heat in the building for Swerve and Hangman. Because the heat's in the building, because that's a year-long story at this point. Danielson and Swerve is like 2 weeks old and it hasn't really started. It starts next week. Yeah. So you're going to get, what's that, 3 Dynamites maybe?
I don't know.
3 Dynamites of a Danielson that only just now is locking in, and a Swerve Strickland that might have taken on too much by leading Team AEW and getting back into it with Hangman Page. Like, Swerve could be going blind into the fight of his life and not really realising it, because he's not clocked that Danielson is only just now
starting to like lock in.
All of that is because of Jeff Jarrett, who, of course, was very willing and able to be the special guest referee in the Owen final, which makes you wonder if he's trying to get in to be a special guest referee in the main event of Wembley, which goated from Jeff as usual. But that would now be like quite a good storyline driver of, you're going to be a bastard, Jeff. Where's it like, he would, like, you feel uneasy around Jeff Jarrett being a babyface because he's Jeff Jarrett, right? Yeah. So like I think that would be quite an effective like guest referee spot if he's going to get it. And I mean, it's Jeff, so he's probably going to get it. Yeah. I got a perfect idea for you, Tony. People love that promo. They want me at Wembley, but they want Danielson too. Like, that's what he does that for. It's not a gimmick, right? I feel like everything they've set up here it's the first stage in adding heat to Danielson Swerve, and people's complaints in Blood and Guts are going to be misplaced in 7 days' time, when they're going to be like, no, actually, I do want that as the Wembley main event. Yeah. Swerve and Hangman is that pay-per-view or that pay-per-view. It's all out. It's Wrestle Dream. It's whenever you want. It is the biggest match they've got. But in 2-3 weeks' time, Danielson Swerve is going to feel like it. I sensed it off this.
I thought it was before we move on, very cleverly placed to do something small but really important, necessary to build Danielson Swerve, because they probably realised when Page and Swerve interact in Blood and Guts, it's going to feel enormous. Yeah. And like sort of maybe invite a conversation of, is the Wembley main event the right one? And I got just enough of an indication of, I'm very happy with where they're going with this, because Danielson realising his ambition is a really, really cool development. Overdue. So I was really cock a hoop with this. I was also really impressed in what I thought was as close as he can get to a home run return as possible when Dr. Britt Baker defeats Hikaru Shida. I won't lie and say the match was blow away great. And obviously, like, this is Britt Baker's very first match back after like a very terrifying sounding hell scare. But I thought the match with Hikaru Shida Nowhere near as good as the pandemic one, but honestly, probably better than the Double or Nothing 2021 match. It's basically a showcase. Baker gets the shine early. It's all very simply structured. Hikaru Shida cuts her off, and then when we get the back and forth, there's like, they've had this history where they can get a bit lost in how much they were trying to do, but they sort of faked the idea that they had this legendary series. They didn't. They had one really great standout match in the worst possible circumstances, and then the pay-per-view matches with crowds weren't much better. But they sort of had this match where they kind of knew each other inside out. There's a really good sequence where they're trying to rule through submission attempts and counters, and then just when you think that, you know, Baker's done well to avoid a certain move, she's just left herself vulnerable to the triangle, but then she rules through out of it into an inside cradle. So really, really cool wrestling. And then Baker wins with a lockjaw, and fair play to Shida, who I thought was super professional here. Almost to the second that hand went into her mouth, she just taps.
Versus Mercedes getting countered by Nyla Rose last week.
Yeah.
As if to imply, no, there is a way to do this.
Yeah.
And you can't, and she can.
Yeah. I just thought, like, they needed to reestablish Britt Baker as a professional wrestler and a winner and a potential champion, because she did a lot of jobs. People forget this. And it's pretty much erased at this point because, you know, people have forgotten. She's brand new back, but she did a lot of jobs before that injury. So I thought it was a really professional bit of business from Shida. She's got every right to kind of protect herself a little bit, considering she could be positioned as, you know, a challenger for whichever belt at a drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Almost the second that submission was applied, she just taps immediately. Again, I just thought that was a really nice bit of sequence in here. Britt Baker looked like she wasn't doing anything too ambitious, which has been a bit of a knock on her. And I should mention as well, very important, in the post-match, Mercedes Money comes out. She says, everyone's talking about All In and whether I'm going to give you the title shot. My answer is no. And then Baker's about to protest when the debuting Camille destroys her.
Yeah. Like, that was really effective. Camille and Mercedes Money, nobody would have called it, but immediately looked great together. I think it's not an accident. Like, this is where I sometimes take on your conspiratorial head for these sort of things. I think it was Sunday, out of nowhere, a conversation made on social media was like, oh, Camille's been signed for agency, she's not getting used. And then here we are on Wednesday, and it's like, was it out of nowhere? Like, that's not the worst thing, is it, for like people to be thinking of Camille, and then here she is straight away. They probably spent the last couple of days maybe seeing what she was up to, maybe watching a couple of her matches. So in she comes for this. Obviously, everybody immediately thinks, well, Britt Baker needs Jamie Hayter, and that's the nice thing to invite. We talked about this on a podcast we did a few days ago about how
potential good tag there.
Well, there's a great tag, but there's her. You know, we talked about the 2-1 return and the music being a pop at Wembley. You might not need the match, but like when Hayter comes to me, it's like, what a moment that could be. And Hayter getting her Wembley moment overdue, you know, on that night to make the save. The match was nice. It was not. It was like Britt Baker was rusty. I thought this was a really, really strong situational heel performance from Shida. Selfless is the word in every respect here, because she locked into the character she had to play, which is basically...
I could have done without the melodrama, to be honest.
Oh, see, I didn't...
Sorry, I should have mentioned as well, there was a point where she meaning Shida pronoun boy, reaches for a kendo stick and agonizes over whether to be a full-fledged heel. It's like, not only is it getting a bit corny, that device in general, but we're seeing it with the Ospreay program.
True, yeah. Like, I think the thing for me is just that she's not, like, Hikaru Shida's been such an effective babyface over the years. And here, she was basically here to spoil the party, wasn't she? Welcome back, Britt, I'm going to kick your ass. Yeah. That's a tough role to fill as a babyface. So I thought she walked that tightrope quite well. And Baker, it's never always been about the matches with Britt Baker, has it? No. She has the matches, but
she's had some awesome matches.
Yeah, but not all the matches. And
no, hot and cold. She's hot and cold.
And the character coming back as the star that she is and feeling over, again, you say about the losses getting erased, just all the way over, all over again. This helped that. The match feels big. Like the Camille thing is a bit of a twist, I would say, for what we were expecting for the run up to Wembley.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Good stuff.
Yeah, really, really strong. And the women's division in AEW continues to be really, really strong. Quick backstage segment with the Patriarchy. They basically say that Nick Wayne's going to be in Royal Rampage. We are your new trios champions. Get used to it. We're the best, etc., etc. Wayne is about to speak when... Who's that? Kip Sabian is lurking in the background of the shot. He's trying to get in with the Patriarchy, but Nick Wayne's having none of it, he says. I don't care that your dad's dead. Suck it up. And Sabian's a bit like broody.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on all this?
My thoughts are Christian Cage holding all 3 titles is inspired.
yeah.
All 3 trios belts. That's really nice. Patriarchy, Wembley. What are we doing here? Kip Sabian is English. Is there any attempt to fold him in as part of some sort of failed attempt to win the trios title with Pac maybe, and another Mr. Bean looking ass? Like, Pac was on this Dynamite again to remind you that you should think about what he's going to be doing at Wembley.
The House of Black are lurking in the background.
The Bing Bing gang of baby faces now.
Yeah,
kind of.
Malachi Black apparently is close to the door.
Or not.
Knock, knock, knocking on Paul Levesque's door.
But Buddy Matthews is in.
Yeah, he's in.
Yeah. Malachi Black, we're less than sure. He may have got an extension or a contract reduction. Both of those are like...
What?
Yeah.
I've, for once, I've not been on X too much.
5-year deal that Tony Khan talked about in 2022 has since been potentially reduced or potentially extended per different outlets. It's all very confusing. Malachi Black likes to keep him guessing.
And I never
care
to ask the questions personally.
What is going to be the Tommy end of this saga? Yeah, there's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, shut up, man. In a quick... It's a word. It's a noise. It's not a word I would use to describe this. It's more of a noise of. Pac defeats Boulder.
Remember, he exists. Wembley's coming
with a brain buster.
Yeah, I
was gonna say as used by all of them, but this is one of the better ones. Takeshita also uses it.
You really want this, don't you?
I'm trying to wish cast it. I'm trying to manifest it. Here's a brain buster, and I do a brain buster. It would just be absolute tits.
It would be really good.
An absolute pair of double Ds if that was to happen at Wembley Stadium. It'd be great. It'd be absolutely fantastic. And this is very much Pac's still around. Keep your eye on him ahead of All In. He's still good. This is basically a match designed to say, Pac's doing something at All In. He's class. Watch him.
Yeah, that's and fine as well because the brain buster did look really cool.
Yeah. We then get a backstage segment with Team AEW where it all basically descends into an argument about who gets the glory, who needs to win the most, blah, blah, blah. And it all is, you realize, so they're complicating things again. It's AEW for you sort of thing. Not trying to be a dick, but sometimes that's true. But then you realize, it's all a setup for Mark Briscoe to go, simmer down, and then do the big rousing babyface promo. Not his best, in my opinion, but you can hear the audience come up for it.
Well, because he's obviously typically used to cutting it for the conglomeration.
Yeah.
This is not his regular stable.
Yeah.
He's moonlighting, I guess, with Team AEW. But yeah, it's still good. It's still good. Mark Briscoe, between this and the match and the build to this match and the conglomeration and all of that, has yet again created a problem within Tony Khan's world in that,
Give him the belt.
My God, is he valuable as the Ring of Honor World Champion? Because it's hard to be valuable in that spot.
Yeah.
But when you become valuable as a regular on AEW TV, me, the AEW fan, would quite like you to be valuable every week on AEW TV, not then suddenly disappear back to Ring of Honor.
Yeah,
they're fixing it. They tell us things are changing. There's structural changes to Ring of Honor incoming and all that kind of stuff that comes up sometimes, but.
Briscoe should be on every. To be fair, he is.
He is.
I think they've realised, hang on, we've got something in Briscoe.
But then that's
one of the best wrestlers of his generation. Obviously, we have.
It's so weird, though, isn't it? Because then that, in a normal circumstance, that would be, right, well, we have to acknowledge the levels of AEW up here and Ring of Honor down here. So we have to do the wrestling thing and have him put somebody over on the way out of the territory.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work like that in this AEW Ring of Honor system. It's like, you're great at both. I want you to hold the belt till next WrestleMania weekend or something like
Right. Okay. I thought I was stealing myself for blood and guts, but there's one more thing to get through before we do that. And it is, by the way, I'm not doing the song. I don't have a song. And I can't be asked to do the spiel, if I'm being perfectly honest. But Ladies' Night is a game we play, right? And we do it to basically just say, come on, get more women's wrestling on this program. Mm-hmm. There's too little of it, especially now when it's one of the best things, if not the best thing in the company. And we play a game where we try to identify to the hour, minute, and second, I'm doing it, the first time you hear the first note, the first entrance theme for the first woman to appear for the only obligatory token women's match on Dynamite, because it usually settles, not tonight, not last night, in that 120 to 125 minute hour range. just to really, hang on. Let's put that in bold, italicize it, and underscore just the idea that, hang on, it's a bit cynical, isn't it? It almost feels as if you feel like you have to put women's wrestling on, otherwise the bloody wokes will complain. And it's a bit apathetic, and it's not on. So we try and play this game just to shine a light on that damn thing. And, that's the aim of the game. And you're thinking, oh, well, hang on, before we get to the name of the game, Sidgwick, that's a mouthful. Can you jinglize that for me? Sure can. This is my jingle-ized interpretation of AEW's cynical thought process. It goes a little bit like this. Hey, don't worry, guys. When the women come out to play, the main event ain't too far away. And that's the aim of the game.
We're not doing this.
And the name of the game is Sophisticated Mama. Ooh, ooh. Well, this is ladies' night, and I'm thinking, ooh, what a night. Old school.
Yeah.
And I won. That's the reason why I've decided to do it. I won for once, okay?
Well, I've got it in front of me, Sid, so if you're getting it on your phone.
All right, okay, well, that was my job.
Well, you see, I wasn't sure if you'd read the tweet, but Panda Blair, not just that you have reigned victorious here with your victory, Panda Blair has come through, as him and Jose Palomares often do, with the...
Dada.
And what a little bit of... give us it again.
Dada.
This is the days since the last time there was 2 women's matches on Dynamite.
This doesn't count, by the way. It was a squash and a feature. We've established that to be 2 back and forths.
Should point out, it's no better than Raw lately. There's 3-hour Raws where there's parity in WWE. It's no better. Like, one of those matches typically goes a minute and a half. 897 days since the last one. And I'll give you the date and then I'll check the result because you're good at this. The 9th of February 2022.
What am I doing?
The last time there was 2 women's matches was the 9th of February 2022.
What were they?
Yeah.
Oh, right, I don't know. Well, there's a button we can press for this.
It's time to play the game! Time to play the game! Ha ha
ha! The last time there was 2 women's matches on Dynamite, 897 days ago. What were those 2 women's matches?
So we're looking at, 2022?
Yeah.
That is a long-ass time ago.
Yeah.
Who's the champ? Doesn't matter who the champ is. Right. I'm going to go with Britt Baker.
No.
Okay, 3 guesses.
Oh,
What's wrong with you?
it's funny. The answer's funny.
Is it Madison Rain?
No.
She's sometimes funny. Does it involve... When did Tony Storm rock up? It's pre-Storm.
Yeah, Tony Storm rocked up just before WrestleMania in 2022, so about another month before Tony Storm arrived.
Christ. I mean, she's really owned that whole thing, hasn't she? It feels unrecognizable. It doesn't feel like it was a before times.
No, yeah.
Right, Hikaru Shida, she's always around.
Nope. It's just great that these 2 specific matches happen.
Oh, is it Jade Cargill and Serena Deeb?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
And they were back to back.
Yeah, back to back, squashy baby.
A squash of AQA by Jade Cargill and Serena Deeb beating Katie Arquette in the 5-minute rookie challenge in like 90 seconds, whatever it was. Squashed nicely together. Guess where on the card it came, Stitch?
1 hour, 20 minutes.
Yeah. Because you're not going to believe this. The women came out to play, but he told the fans, don't worry.
What was the main event?
It was...
give us one and I'll try and get the other.
You'll get it if I give you both.
I'll get it if I get it.
It was... I'll give you one of them then. I'll give you one of them.
Tell me what I'll get. What did you tell me?
I'm trying to decide which wrestler to give you to try and make this trickier. It was Hangman Page.
John Moxley.
No. February 9th, 2022. This ruled ass.
Main event.
Yeah. I know, I was surprised too.
Hangman Page ruling ass in the main event of Dynamite against... Oh boy. Takeshita?
No. Oh. Bingo!
Oh my God, I loved it so much.
Yeah, top rope came off for the buckshot.
Oh yeah.
Good.
I was like, well, I know he's going to do it. But how? Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they just the Roddy Piper, that one. They changed the question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unbelievable. Right, okay, well, the guess is in deep sending order. Michael Hamflett, no hours, no minutes, no seconds.
Try to show some faith.
Adam Wilborn, I don't know you from Adam. No hours, 15 minutes and 9 seconds. Me, Michael Sidgwick, no hours, 28 minutes and 15 seconds. And who won Ladies' Night on 24th of July? I did. First try on that day.
Yeah, 39 minutes, 38 seconds, so about like 12 minutes off or something, but it was a weird Dynamite, wasn't it, on account of Blood and Guts. So.
I had to undermine my victory.
I'm not undermining
Yeah, you were miles off it, but he still won.
It's weird seeing his results start with 2 zeros, that's why I think.
Oh,
But yeah, that puts the standings.
Where's my respect?
3 wins for Usage in 2024, 5 for me, and 7 for Wilborn. So he's still in the lead.
Yeah. Anyway.
Game might be over though. Does feel like we're heading to like a climax of this game in 2024.
Well, you say that literally as I'm about to recap an occasion in which the women come out to play because the main event wasn't actually too far away. The Glamour Mariah May debuts, air quotes, defeating handily and very, very quickly Kaitland Alexis. This is really cool because what happens is shotgun dropkick to the mouth. Yeah. Immediately, it was like, oh, Jesus Christ. People reacted to that opening like shotgun dropkick pretty much like they did to most of the Blood and Guts spots. It just looked at tits. And then she does what I really liked about this, like the debut of just the Glamour Mariah May. Not cosplaying Toni Storm this time. We're not being Toni Storm because it's the debut of the separate, real Mariah May. Hip Attack and Storm Zero wins it.
So
I
nice.
loved that, god damn it, because the idea as well, no, I'm not cosplaying her anymore. I'm literally replacing her.
Yeah.
I loved it. That bait and switch was just so majestically done.
And like she hits really hard, Mariah May, and Toni Storm does too. So she will, like, as you say, kind of like
That match is going to kick ace.
I cannot wait for it. And she's laying claim to being like, I'm the hardest hitter in this division just because you were.
Yeah.
I am. And I love this feud. I really do. I was more than willing to forgive last week's slight misstep because this was such an like economic bit of wrestling television, not least because of the
post
hot
match.
post match as well.
In the post match, Mariah May, gloats, celebrates her victory. Then you hear Toni Storm's theme. It goes on for about 5 seconds and hit the sweet spot because usually wrestling being wrestling is very obvious. Usually they take it about 5 seconds too far when you realize, it's the Shawn Michaels Montreal trick. Yeah. Not this one. It's within 5 seconds she goes, I'm taking the piss. Yeah. She's not here, but she is. She's wearing a wig. Toni Storm pronoun boy, standing behind Mariah May, and then they start beating the holy crap out of each other. It's amazing. And then it gets separated. And then when they're in either corner, going for each other's throats, Toni Storm, who does it in a very cartoonish way, she's still in character.
Hard character.
It's hard. It's hard.
She did it, didn't she?
But I think she did it personally. Goes, are you willing to die? I am. Like, yes.
Yes.
And I believe it because he's hit each other really hard.
Yeah. This was a night, when he passed away, a lot of people used the Jerry Jarrett.
Are you ready to die? I am.
Personal issues, draw money plaque that was in his office.
That's right.
And you mentioned Blood and Guts, and I think it's really relevant to discuss here because this is a personal issue, drawing goddamn money, and the building was a reflection of that, wasn't it? Like, God, people came up for this.
The building were really into Blood and Guts, to be fair.
They were. It was a hot crowd on a hot night in Nashville, but
hot night in Nashville.
It's great to see this. Like, really great to see any worries that might have
sprung
up
last week. Gone
away again. No, that can just be that can just be the bit in the video package you skip. Yeah. Like, incredible beat, story, great beat down, and now this. Toni Storm. I wasn't an advocate for Toni Storm coming back so soon.
Yeah, they've got a plan.
However, you say they've got a plan, Sidge. I had a look online, quite deep into my AEW, you see, before we came into review, and we might not even make it to Wembley because Battle of the Belts is coming.
Shut up, man. No, they're making a salient point here.
Toni Storm is taking on Ty Valkyrie. So that could throw everything up in the air. I mean, it's only been
three-way.
It's only last October that Mariah May arrived. So
three-way.
It could be. I'm just asking questions. Battle of the Belts. Tune in. Somebody should.
I'm not. No, we've got a rule, and it's a fair rule.
Yeah.
Until there is a significant title switch at Battle of the Belts, which I was reliably informed was going to be Clash of the Champions. It isn't.
It's not really, is it?
It's not. Right, don't know how to do this. Blood and Guts, 49 minutes. Impossible to recap, so I'm just going to not do that.
Yeah.
I'll give you the broad strokes. People, you've probably watched it. I think people listen and watch for the analysis rather than the recap. It's Blood and Guts. It's Team AEW versus Team Elite. I'll go through the order of entrances, the finish. I'll give you my thoughts, and then I'll pass on to you. Interject whenever you want.
Okay.
Right. So Jack Perry and Darby Allin start things off intelligently with an arena-wide brawl. And that's really quite hot and really well done, I think. With the idea being, we're going to spend a lot of time in that goddamn cage, so let's try and make it a little bit different.
Yeah.
Which I thought they did a really, really effective job of. Nicholas Jackson comes in, and he's got sort of like a case that would, like, the kind of thing that you would look, a portable case for looking around some kind of equipment.
Yeah.
But they don't open it yet. You get some pretty cool Nick Jackson things. Nicholas Jackson, sorry, to give him his God-given name on his passport. Then Mark Briscoe comes out. Punch, punch, punch. He knows what he's doing in a War Games match, funnily enough. And then he does this awesome spot where he uses a chair to get into the other ring and just smash someone with a clothesline. The heel advantage is restored with Matthew Jackson, who also has a briefcase. Throws it to his brother, and then he gets a DDT onto Darby Allin on the, it's like stood upside down, or like on its side. Right. And then Darby Allin spikes his head on it for the DDT. It's an incredible spot. It was a echo of last year where, if nothing else, the Elite knew where to plant the plunder so that they could do their own stuff and make it look sort of organic. Yes. Really, really good. This is when Bowens comes out. He's got a pair of scissors that he just basically stabs someone's throat with. That's really cool. Okada, who's miles better here, I should add, than Anarchy in the Arena, where he seemed a little bit timid and afraid. He's still got a flimsy weapon, but he hits people really hard in the face with it. That's the Rainmaker Drive.
Yeah. It's the road sign.
Road sign. Then that brings out Max Caster. His is the microphone. I thought he was going to do a rap. And then at this point, Hangman Page is meant to be next because he's the heel, and the music comes out, but he's not there. We kind of know what's going on. Then Swerve Strickland comes out. I'm struggling here because I don't know when to do my analysis. Will Vaughn's so much better at this. Apologies, he's a part-timer, just like Hamflett over here. But when he's about to make his entrance, Swerve Strickland, Hangman Page comes out, suckers him in, cuffs him to the side of the cage, starts kicking his ass. Too much in the way of monologues for me, but it's fine. And then Matthew Jackson grabs a microphone. Basically, whenever a microphone entered someone's hand here, I lost interest. That was my personal take. He says, "What the hell are you doing, Hangman? Get in this ring. We've suspended you before. If you don't get in this ring and do it for us and not your own selfish program with Strickland, you're fired." So Page is like, right, okay, I'll get in and do the business. Jeff Jarrett and Daddy Ass come out, and in tandem with Prince Nana, they eventually get the door's been slammed basically as well on Swerve. But between the three of them, they get Swerve off the cage. They remove part of the cage, and then they get the door. So you've got an exit for various things that will follow.
Took ages up.
Took ages. It took absolutely ages. Too bloody long. Some action goes on. And then, what happened? I'm crap at this. I've got it written down in front of me and I'm still crap. I'm just going to go to the finish. Before I get to the finish, though, Swerve and Page, after some really cool stuff in the ring, which I'll get to because I want to just go through my favourite bits. It's the only way I can do this anyway. They sprawl to the up the entrance ramp and to the stage. And what I thought was weak, personally, They go together through a crash pad that's just there somehow by the side of the stage. I don't know how you get them written out of the match because they play no part in the finish, but you don't do that. It just looked like, I've seen them in Texas Death. You're not doing that. I just don't buy that as a way that they are both out of there with this magically appearing crash pad. Crap, didn't like that, but I had a lot of fun with it, which we're going to get into. So basically, they're out of action. Team AEW start to band together. We get some cool spots, which I'm going to go through again because I'm going to go through my favorite bits. But the basic finish is that Darby Allin, after like climbing up the entire structure and doing a coffin drop, which looked incredible, gets Jack Perry, handcuffs him to the cage, gets a long hob lighter. You don't want your fingers too close to that, so you get a long one. Or for the flambe lighter.
Lighting the kids' candles on the birthday cake, I find.
Indeed, as well. Yep. Flambe lighter.
You know what it's called? A flambe lighter?
I don't know. Let's make things up sometimes.
Lighting a flambe.
Yeah. And then he gets a gas can.
Yeah.
Douses Perry in the gasoline, the petrol, and then gets the lighter, grabs a microphone, says, look, if you don't surrender now, I'm going to set you on fire.
Yeah.
And there's precedent, so it kind of half works, even though it's not happening ever.
But he's done it before. Jack Perry should think, he's going to do it again. Yeah.
But Jack Perry doesn't think that.
No.
He spits in Darby Allin's face and says, light me on fire, at which point Matthew Jackson says, look, I'll give you the match. I'll give you TNT title match because, I'm in charge sometimes. And then Darby Allin goes, thanks, still going to set him on fire unless you quit on his behalf. And then Matthew Jackson surrenders for Darby Allin. That is the gist of the story.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to give you my thoughts and I'm going to pass over to you. Blood and Guts remains an excellent, unedited highlight reel where there's loads of highlights. You just need to edit them into a better match because it's 50 minutes. I didn't like the finish very much. I thought the write-off of Page and Swerve, I want to get to the negatives and then the positives. I didn't buy the way that Page and Swerve were taken out of that match. I just thought it was a really flimsy looking, almost trademark AEW flimsy stunt. I didn't like the use of a microphone with Matthew Jackson and Hangman Page. If I saw him like banging on the cage mesh and going, I'll fire you if you don't get in. Maybe they needed it for the audience, the live audience, I don't know. I didn't need the microphone chat. I'm consistent with that. I don't need monologues in my pro wrestling. I've said it in 2020. I'm going to say it again. And at the finish, right, Darby Allin has set Jack Perry on fire before. He has done things worse to himself than getting set on fire. Like so those horrific bumps he's taken.
Yeah.
It just, when Eddie Kingston shambled to the ring at Double or Nothing 2022, Anarchy in the Arena, I just bought that he was going to set someone on fire because he's Eddie Kingston.
Yeah.
I didn't really buy the finish, even though it's already kind of happened, you know what I mean? Just thought it was a bit melodramatic, a bit verbose.
That took a while as well, by the way. The setup of that, handcuffs.
It's never going to get it right. They're never going to get it perfect.
You cannot like when 5 seconds becomes 10 in rest. That's an eternity.
It is an eternity.
And like everybody has to dance around a bit while he's thing on the go, and it's just that. I think that took away a little bit from it. A little bit.
I will say that there were elements of this match that I thought were tremendous. Was it my favourite one? I think it flowed better than the other ones. I think it wasn't necessarily as... I think there's just some cooler wrestling in this one.
Yeah.
It felt a bit cleaner. Like last year's was a bit more... they went just insane last year. Like, remember what John Moxley looked like? It just looked like he'd been skinned alive. There was that much red on him. It felt a bit cleaner. Like Darby and the Bucks being here. There's some more spectacular wrestling. It didn't feel like this sludgy, get to the point brawl.
Darby Allin was massive for this year's match.
Darby Allin was incredible in this match. We know the Bucks. The Bucks work incredibly well with virtually everybody. But those early wrestling sequences were fantastic. The way they arranged the plunder so that Mark Briscoe could do his spectacular stuff and you could DDT Darby Allin onto it. I thought that was great. I thought as well that we didn't need to go to the roof to find the next best thing with Anthony Bones took a bump through 4 tables, 2 stacked on top of 2.
4 stables. Imagine that. A bunch of guys out there.
Yeah, he did that bump, and it was quite incredible. They didn't have to go to the roof. So Briscoe was great, Darby was great. Like, Okada was much better than he was in Anarchy in the Arena. There's a lot of great stuff in this match. But there was a point when I was thinking, well, did the Bucks bring anything in those briefcases? And this is the bit I want to put over more than anything, right? Did the Bucks, like, bring anything? What's going on with those briefcases? And then it is revealed after Paige and Swerve have their pretty awesome interaction. Like, they break out into a wrestling match in the second ring where it just looks incredible.
Yeah.
And then the staple happens. Swerve Strickland brings out the staple gun, obviously legendary from that Texas death match. And then it's revealed, once the Elite gang up on him, that in that sort of luggage case are 5 staples for every member of the Elite to use against Swerve Strickland. And he loves it. It powers him up like the Randy Savage elbow, but in a much cooler version of that. And then Swerve Strickland kicks all of their asses with a staple gun, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I tweeted this. I'm going to just elaborate on my thoughts before I get Hamflett's thoughts on the match. It's a dirty word in wrestling because it's almost like a synonym of fake or contrived. But there's such a thing as choreography in wrestling, and it can be done very well and it can be done poorly. It just has a connotation of being bad. And I want to point that out because I'm going to use it, but I want people to think it's a bad thing when I do. Swerve Strickland, in terms of his fight choreography and when he does things and how he acts, I think he's one of, if not the best cinematic wrestlers in wrestling, and the way he can choreograph these big sort of badass moments.
Yeah.
There's nobody else who grasps the theater of being a badass in wrestling right now for me.
Well, you
Swerve
think of the
Strickland.
blood drinking straight away.
Yeah,
That's an all-timer as you were watching.
And like, you know, when he's stapling himself with that facial expression. Like, it used to be Moxley. I think Swerve Strickland is sort of killing him in the game of, I know how to be a theatrical showbiz badass in pro wrestling. It's so hard to do as well. Swerve Strickland and the choreography of that sequence I thought was outstanding. For me, it was the ultimate highlight of the match. There was, again, as I said yesterday, it was kind of exactly the match that it was going to be. But that's not really a big insight. I'm not going to do the victory lap there because it's just what this match is. It's a smattering of great, committed, electrifying moments. There's too much story in it. There's too much excess. There are moments of slowdown. It's a fundamentally flawed match. It is an unbelievable, unedited highlight reel, ... that needs editing. But I wanted to point out specific praise for Swerve Strickland because what he does is almost impossible. He shouldn't be able to present himself as such a badass, but he's unbelievable at it. Choreography can be good. Swerve Strickland is the best at it. What are your thoughts?
I'm glad you had a lot to say because I'm not sure I do, and that's our job.
I will say, one more thing. The fans were really up for this in a way that I didn't expect, and it elevated it immeasurably. Previously, there's just been this sort of hum of, more things. This crowd was like fundamental to the success of this match. Yeah,
this was a hot match.
Really, really hot match.
And I have to put it over for that. I just thought it was all right. I was going to praise something that I think you were critical of there. I think this probably was the best blood and guts. Only a medium bar.
I think I was more excited last year, but the finish was a disaster.
I think this massively benefited from being more about being not the overarching power struggle, Team AEW or any of that, but the individual stories that mattered here. So Paige and Swerve, obviously.
The wrestling match they had was unbelievable.
Big one.
Went like about 90 seconds and it was great.
And everything that was your nervous anticipation for when they were going to arrive, the realization of the fix being in when Hangman Page didn't, I quite like the melodrama, I'm going to eat you alive. I liked all that on the floor. I just thought the visuals were quite striking. The Jack Perry and Darby Allin brawl start in the match was inspired because
they built Paige Okada nicely as well.
Paige Okada was buried within it. Like the singular stories.
So it was an accidental.
He got him by accident in the match. If indeed they're still going to it, and I assume they are. The only thing, if Paige isn't working Okada, I don't think he's travelling to Wembley. Honestly, I can't see another match for him looking up and down.
That's Okada.
It's got to be Okada.
Yeah.
Like, I thought this match benefited massively from the feuds that were in it rather than the actual like team warfare or the sense of any achievement in the victory.
There's loads of thought that's got into all of it.
Like I
Not
thought
enough emotion, but loads and loads of thought. You can never knock them for that.
I kind of think, here I go. I think this is probably the best plotted one. Honestly, like I think I can look back on all the other blood and guts and like the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle was the most deserving of the stipulation.
This echoed that in terms of, because they did all the individual feuds. Remember when they did the other way around and it was just a bit experimental and weird. This is a bit like that where
I think so. It was the closest
they tended to every subplot.
There was never really as much of a sense of a gang fight as the BCC ones. I think the match benefited for it as a result. There was a spot I was gonna Jeff Jarrett smashing Brandon Cutler with a guitar.
It could not have gone. Yeah,
goated.
So when Jeff Jarrett comes out to be like, that's not fair, that's not on, we need to get Swerve in that match. Brandon Cutler comes out and then Daddy Ass punches him, and then he walks into the chair shot. If you're Brandon Cutler, like wrestling so weird, you're probably thinking, oh God, thank God that chair shot looked as good as it did. Because it just sort of like, it smashed him over the head, then he wore it like a necklace.
Which is how you should. Just he falls to the floor and it's still around his head. Perfect. Let's talk about the big divisive, controversial moment, because you covered pretty much. That was a very good recap, by the way. You can do Will Barnes' job.
No, it wasn't.
Feels like we've got across everything with one glaring exception, which I don't know if you've left by design for us to be kind of the last.
No, I just forgot.
The last remaining talking point. Like, what do you make of there? I mean, it felt very much in tribute to a man that we often have a little bit of fun at the expense of on this, didn't it? Because there was certainly a little bit of that night in the ECW arena. That chair shot was heard in Philadelphia. It was heard in pro wrestling. And it was heard around the world. That was what it was. Clean ass chair shot to the head. And Corey Graves went on to Twitter to post something and then delete something. But it was quite we've covered it in the news, me and Phil. He's not being a dick about it. He's being quite honest. He says, look, I forget things now from the headshots I take. I don't want to interfere with anybody's artistic process, but just really think carefully about them. I would argue this one was thought carefully about. I would argue the Powerhouse Hobbs Kenny Omega one was not.
No!
But I would argue this one absolutely was. And maybe it is case by case. I'm not defending chair shots to the head as a rule. I don't like them. Nigel McGuinness broke my wiring when it came to blood for years. I think AEW's had to chip away at my defences with blood because I watched those documentaries and I was like, yeah, get rid of it forever. Like, he was so anti-blood for the reasons that it affected his life.
Yeah.
And I'm watching WWE for the most part where it's banned and I'm like, yeah, we can live without this.
No,
and then AEW has brought it back in a way. I think this one justified itself. I think.
You think? All right,
I think so. I do. I think, like,
it was weeks.
It's blood and guts, man. If you're going to do
blood and guts.
Like,
for me,
it's like the excess. Sorry. It's like the excess does just as good a job of rendering it redundant as it does rendering it crucial.
No, I get it. For me, I don't know if it was Mark Briscoe to Jack Perry. Maybe it should have been Darby to Jack Perry.
Maybe.
Or Swerve to Page or whatever, you know. The thing is, it's never one chair shot, right? It's never one chair shot. There was Kenny and there was Hobbs. There's probably others that I'm forgetting, but they do one big chair shot to the head and blood and guts every single year. But it's only ever one. The whole idea, if you go and watch Kane and Mankind, Hell in a Cell, 1998, and they had like another match on Raw where it's just like, the Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso match, but with chair shots instead of super kicks. Yeah. It's chronic. That's the thing. It's chronic. So I get it. Like, I mean, I popped, I'm a ghoul, and I tell you what, I popped more at Mark Briscoe's facial expression afterwards. Because he plays the, simmer down now, simmer down. But he plays this sort of like, a comedy character, but like a guy who will like, a motivational speaker from the backwards, you know? He's a bad man, Mark Briscoe. I've seen him for years. His facial expression afterwards was like, yep, I just took you to hell and I'm glad you did it. So I thought, if you're going to do it, they've acted it out perfectly. It's just, they do it every year. Once they start doing this every week or every month, maybe I'll start being way more like, stop doing it, but it's their annual treat. And the whole point is, wrestling is inherently dangerous. They are doing it once a year mainly during Blood and Guts. And on the Graves thing, it's one of those where he's right and he's wrong at the same time, so why even bother? He's obviously right to say that. So, yeah. He deleted it. He's right to say it. He has a personal thing about this, right? I genuinely don't think he was trying to be, a bad faith, grifter, dickhead. At the same time, right, at the last WWE PLE, there were there's no transparency in wrestling, so we can never know for sure. It could be inferred, or you could guess that there were 2 wrestlers in 2 matches that were knocked loopy and where they stopped with a potential head injury. Damian Priest, he talked, Damian Priest clarified what happened. Clarified nothing to me. Yeah. I don't know what he was talking about. It's the implication that he got knocked loopy. Did Tangaloa get knocked loopy? And did he get removed from that match out of concern for a head injury? If in fact he did, no. So talk about that and then talk about it. Otherwise, you're going to get those responses.
Yeah. It was, you could tell, I think he's had like 2,500 engagements and he's thought, no, what? And it's a tough chat to have on Twitter and X, isn't it? Especially as an ex-wrestler with a personal connection.
Who works for WWE.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I just think, I'm not trying to bury him. I think he was right and a bit wrong at the same time. It's right, but come on. Would he say it?
Yeah.
Did he tweet after Money in the Bank? Hang on.
Come on, guys.
There's a suspicion, we don't know for sure. There is a suspicion that 2 WWE wrestlers might have had a head injury in 2 separate matches. Did he tweet, you know what, we should be more... Wrestling across the board should. Jon Moxley Phoenix, that was appalling. Right.
Aye.
See it constantly. I don't care. I mean, if it's a main event of WrestleMania, right? Maybe that's one thing. If a match gets stopped because someone gets a head injury, I don't care. I personally don't care.
Yeah.
But wrestling promoters clearly do.
I didn't want it to become the sole focus, and I knew it wouldn't be, but like, it just...
You got to get across.
You knew there was going to be some conversation on it, didn't you, about this? Because it's still that spot. And that's the thing as well, it holds some power, doesn't it? We have debates about it when one's come up and
which
they
would
matter.
Probably indicate that they haven't done it too much.
Yeah, that's my take on it. I don't think they've abused it, and I think
it wasn't necessary. I popped because I'm a ghoul. It was not necessary at all.
I'm sure Brandon Cutler would rather be Brandon Cutler than Jack Perry with Jack Perry in terms of taking big headshots. Yeah, I thought it was fine. Like, this was these big excessive weapons, double cage whatevers. I think need the personal issues that draw the money, and the Swerve and Hangman stuff was the best stuff in it as a result. And then again, but it would have been the best stuff in it. It was the best stuff in an Owen Hart tournament that Swerve wasn't in. It's going to be the best stuff that Swerve is doing at Wembley when Hangman Page isn't in that event. It's like, it's a hot feud. Yeah. Like, you put that anywhere.
Matthew Jackson hit Dax Howard in the head with an exploding chair at Anarchy in the Arena. Maybe it is happening too much.
What do you think Dave will go on this?
Oh, that's a nice way to round off.
It's time to play the game! Time to play a game!
What's Dave gonna give the match? I haven't listened to Observer Radio. I don't anymore. So usually I can speak Dave and guess from his synonyms of very good / excellent. Phenomenal is usually 5 or above. Match of the year is 5 or above. One of the best matches in Dynamite history. So I don't know what he's actually said about it. So flying blind here, I have to just think what he thinks rather than get a clue. 4 and 3.
I was going to say 4 1/4.
You reckon?
Yeah, but I never know with Dave about where he likes ladders, doesn't he? But Plunder in general, he goes hot and cold on, doesn't he?
No, he's weird. He doesn't like these matches, but he'll say for its type.
Yeah.
For its type, he'll go a certain score on.
I said this is high on the blood and guts scale, this one for me.
Yeah, he went 5 on Swerve and Hangman and said he hated it. He went 5 on Moxley, Hangman, Texas Death, said he hated it, Yeah. Which people written before, I kind of get it. It's a whole other conversation. High on the blood and guts scale, he loves noise. He thinks noise is good, and he's not wrong. Mm-hmm. This was noisy, this.
Yep.
This is noisy. 4 and 3, I reckon. What do you reckon? 4 and 1/4?
I think 4 1/4, yeah.
Okay.
So we will see.
We will see. As will you tomorrow. This is today. And thank you for joining us today on this podcast. We really appreciate it. I don't know how to do outros. I spent so long patterning my intro in Wilborn's absence. That was such a relief to get started that I don't know how to get finished. Back tomorrow for more podcasts. Thank you very much for joining us. If you want to follow this dude, you can on Twitter at
Michael Hamflett. Dude.
If you want to follow me, dude, you can do so at M. Sidgwick. I don't know if we've got another podcast this afternoon. We don't. More tomorrow, hopefully. Thank you for your continued support.